The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, Lord.
As Jesus passed by, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, such that he was born blind?" Jesus answered, "Neither he nor his parents sinned. It is so that the works of God might be made visible through him. We have to do the works of the one who sent me while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world." When he said this, he spat on the ground and made clay with the saliva, and smeared the clay on his eyes and said to him, "Go wash in the pool of Siloam," which means sent. So he went and washed and came back able to see. His neighbors and those who had seen him earlier as a beggar said, "Isn't this the one who used to sit and beg?" Someone said, "It is." But others said, "No, he just looks like him." He said, "I am." So they said to him, "How were your eyes opened?" He replied, "The man called Jesus made clay and anointed my eyes, and told me, 'Go to Siloam and wash.' So I went there and washed and was able to see." And they said to him, "Where is he?" He said, "I don't know." They brought the one who was once blind to the Pharisees. Now Jesus had made clay and opened his eyes on the Sabbath. So when the Pharisees also asked him how he was able to see, he said to them, "He put clay on my eyes, and I washed, and now I can see." So some of the Pharisees said, "This man is not from God, because he does not keep the Sabbath." But others said, "How can a sinful man do such signs?" And there was a division among them. So they said to the blind man once again, "What do you have to say about him, since he opened your eyes?" He said, "He is a prophet." Now the Jews did not believe that he had been blind and gained his sight, until they summoned the parents of the one who had gained his sight. They asked them, "Is this your son, who you say was born blind? How does he now see?" His parents answered and said, "We know that this is our son and that he was born blind. We do not know how he sees now, nor do we know who opened his eyes. Ask him. He is of age. He can speak for himself." His parents said this because they were afraid of the Jews, for the Jews had already agreed that if anyone acknowledged him as the Christ, he would be expelled from the synagogue. For this reason, his parents said, "He is of age, question him." So a second time they called the man who had been blind and said to him, "Give God the praise. We know that this man is a sinner." He replied, "If he is a sinner, I do not know. One thing I do know is that I was blind and now I see." So they said to him, "What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes?" He answered them, "I told you already, and you did not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you want to become his disciples too?" They ridiculed him and said, "You are that man's disciple. We are disciples of Moses. We know that God spoke to Moses, but we do not know where this one is from." The man answered and said to them, "This is what is so amazing, that you do not know where he's from, yet he opened my eyes. We know that God does not listen to sinners, but if one is devout and does his will, he listens to him. It is unheard of that anyone ever opened the eyes of a person born blind. If this man were not from God, he would not be able to do anything." They answered and said to him, "You were born totally in sin, and you are trying to teach us?" Then they threw him out. When Jesus heard that they had thrown him out, he found him and said, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" He answered and said, "Who is he, sir, that I may believe in him?" Jesus said to him, "You have seen him, and the one speaking with you is he." He said, "I do believe, Lord," and he worshiped him. Then Jesus said, "I came into this world for judgment, so that those who do not see might see, and that those who do see might become blind." Some of the Pharisees who were with him heard this and said to him, "Surely we are not also blind, are we?" Jesus said to them, "If you were blind, you would have no sin. But now you are saying, 'We see,' so your sin remains." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
That's a really long gospel. Good morning.
Good morning, Deacon.
You know, a few weeks ago, I was in a panic. I lost my checkbook. And I searched my office, I searched my desk, I opened all the drawers, I searched my car. I even called Pauline and asked her to check the house. Of course, she suggested that I look in other certain places. And of course, I looked in several places a second time, on my desk, in my car. When I got home, Pauline began to help me look for it. It's a big deal when you lose your checkbook. I remember I sat down in the living room and I was thinking about all the work I was going to have to do to close the account, to transfer funds, to put holds on checks that hadn't cleared so far. My anxiety was building. I prayed to St. Anthony, and for a good measure, second measure, I also prayed to St. Jude. Then Pauline, like some beautiful angel that she is, appeared at my side and handed me my checkbook. I asked her where she found it. "In your car." I looked there 3 times. It dropped down between the seat and the center console, that little crack that swallows everything. I looked there too, 3 times. You were just looking for it in a way that a man looks for everything. I've already confessed once that I suffer from MSH, which is man's selective hearing. But now I guess I have a new syndrome to add, and that's male blindness. There's other kinds of blindness too. Blindness is the journey all of us find ourselves on from time to time, struggling to find our way in a world that's full of confusion and chaos, of fear, temptation, and even sin. A world that so often offers us only darkness. But this Sunday, the darkness lifts. Pretty. We're just past the halfway point in Lent. Our journey toward Easter is nearing its end. We can see the light in every sense. No less than 5 times in today's rather lengthy gospel, we hear the word light. The gospel is speaking of the light of Christ, which is the light of life, the light of our Easter hope. And it couldn't come at a more timely time. Look around. We just started daylight savings time, whether you consider that a blessing or not, with an extra hour of light at the end of every day. Tomorrow is the first day of spring, believe it or not. And we are running towards warmth and growth and light. The daffodils have already bloomed. The grass is greening up, and some birds have been looking for suitable sites to build a nest. The world is awakening, and just as the earth right now turns a little bit closer to the sun, we need to turn back to the source of all light as well. Today's gospel reminds us of that. The source of that light is boundless and unbelievable love. John mentions that often in his gospel. God is love. It's there many times, and in his letters as well. And then we also have to hear these especially beautiful words earlier in the gospel. For God so loved the world that he gave us his only Son, so that everyone who believes in him might not perish, but might have eternal life. What a beautiful gift we're being offered. The question becomes, are we willing to accept it? Are we prepared to draw back the curtains and let in the light? And when we do that, we have to question, where have we failed? How have we fallen short? How have we put distance between ourselves and God? How have we blocked out the light? And I know that in some way all of us have. Whether it's our Lenten resolutions, there's still time for those. Whether it's our day-to-day life. It seems like ages ago, but I don't think we can forget. We are a people that have received a mark, a sort of stain. Last month on a Wednesday, nearly 2,500 people came to this church to be reminded of that mark, to have ashes put on their foreheads. By now we have washed away those ashes, but the memory of them is still there, a sort of stain, a mark on our humanity and of our sinfulness. We wore our mistakes for the whole world to see. The ash reminds us of our past. But the light we hear about today, that's the promise of the future. That's the meaning of this Sunday, Laetare Sunday. We're rejoicing because the miracle of the resurrection is closer. And we're rejoicing because of God's love, a love that came into the world and suffered death, offered us something beyond measure. It holds out mercy. It holds out forgiveness for us. And of course, it holds out our redemption. It holds our light. It reassures us, despite what we might think, that no matter what we've done, we don't have to stay in the dark. This is a beautiful time to celebrate the sacrament of reconciliation. There was a commercial for a hotel chain not too long ago. They proudly stated, "We'll leave the light on for you." In our case, the light is love. The love that is so great, it gave the world his Son on a cross for us. From the beginning of the Gospel of John, we hear these words, "In him was life, and the life was the light of men." The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. That light he is speaking of is God's love. Love that is ready to forgive, to reconcile. This Sunday we rejoice because we are reminded of that light. The light that came into the world, and light that is always near to us.